Hey guys, and welcome back to Inspired by Jerica Brachet, and welcome back to the Zodiac Signs mini series. Today, we will be breaking down the sign of Aquarius. So, as you guys know, after this video, we only have two more polarities left, and that is the Virgo Pisces axis. I cannot believe there's only two videos left in this series, you guys. Oh my goodness. The 6, 7, almost 8 weeks went by really, really quick. I do apologize, you guys, for the tardiness of the Aquarius video. My kids came back from spring break, and that just threw off my whole little recording schedule. But nevertheless, here we are. Let's dive into Aquarius. So, you guys know the deal. If you are new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. There is a lot of information out there about astrology. So, the fact that you clicked on my video means a lot to me. If this is the first of the Zodiac series videos that you have seen, I definitely recommend that you check out all the others. I have been progressively going through each sign, but instead of the normal order that you may see the zodiac signs, I have been addressing them by their polarity. So we kicked off the first set with Aries and Libra. So last week was supposed to be Leo and Aquarius. I wasn't able to fit Aquarius in, but the polarity sign is Leo. So, you know, if you're in Aquarius rising, or you have sun in Aquarius, moon in Aquarius, this is probably going to resonate with you, and you'll definitely want to check out the polarity sign of Leo, because my opinion is that when it comes to polarities, two sides of the same coin, okay? So, yeah, what we've been doing, the way that we have been getting down to the nitty-gritty of how you get the delineations of a sign, or how the signs get their meanings or interpretations. I've been showing you guys how I get that. And I've been doing that by looking at what I call the big four. And the big four would be the planetary ruler for the sign, the gender of the sign, the element, and the modality. So those four all together is where I extrapolate and come together with a interpretation or a meaning for a particular sign. And this is all rooted in traditional astrology. So I also only recognize the 5 main planets. So Mercury, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn, plus the 2 luminaries, the sun and the moon. Okay. So for traditional astrology, you will not see Pluto, Neptune, or Uranus with any rulerships anyway. You know, it's not that traditional astrology does not recognize them at all. It is that we do not give them rulerships. Okay. So that means that Jupiter rules over Pisces, that Saturn rules over Aquarius, and Mars rules over Scorpio. Okay. So yeah, if you have been watching the series, you already know this. Definitely feel free to look in the description box below and check for the timestamps, so that you can skip all this and go ahead and get into Aquarius's big four. However, if you are new, I recommend that you stay tuned for the next 2 little parts here, because I am going to do a very, very quick, superly duperly simple intro into what astrology is, and then I'll do another quick intro as far as the signs themselves. Okay. So astrology derives from the Greek word astro, meaning star, and logos, meaning language, knowledge, or information. So essentially, astrology is the language. Excuse me. Astrology is the language of the stars, and or the knowledge that we get from the stars, or that comes down from the heavens. Astrology studies the correlation between the movements of the celestial bodies, which we call the planets, and the terrestrial events that happen on Earth. So it operates under the universal law of correspondence, which, if you have studied Hermeticism, or you know of the 7 Hermetic principles or the universal laws, there's so many interchangeable words that we use, or if you've even read a book such as the Kabbalion, then you have probably come across this particular universal law, which we actually talk about too in this video: the law of correspondence, which is this one, and then the law of polarity, which we'll visit later. But essentially, when it comes to the law of correspondence, that is the axiom: as above, so below, as within, so without, right? We've all heard that. And the idea is that the universe is a macrocosm, and we, being parts of the universe, energies from the universe, are the microcosm. Okay. So you have the whole system, which is the macrocosm, and within that whole system are lesser systems, which are the microcosms. So it's like having an organism, and within that organism you have organs and you have tissues and you have cells, and it goes all the way down to a cellular or an atomical level, right? But each level is whole in its own. So basically what we're saying is that there is a mirroring that happens here, and so what happens on the macro level is then reflected on the micro level. And astrology follows that, and actually is it displays that very beautifully. And so essentially what we're saying here is that whatever is born or done at a particular moment in time inherently has the qualities of that moment, and astrology is a mode or a tool that we use to describe the nature of those moments. Okay. And so in some of my previous videos, especially the earlier ones that I did in this series, I gave the example of a wine connoisseur or a sommelier. And so what they are able to do is, just by tasting the wine, they could tell you what part of the world that wine is from, what vineyard or orchard that it came from, the fruits, all of that, just from simply tasting it. So when we are observing the heavens, or we are observing the stars, looking at your birth chart, we are able to see the energies that make up you. So if you're having a symptom on the outside, by looking at your chart, we should be able to see why you are the way you are, the symptom being your personality, but it could be medical astrology as well, like an actual medical symptom, right? You should be able, by looking at a microscope or through a microscope, right, we're able to see what is making up or what is causing for you to have the symptoms that you're having, right, through a microscope. Well, with astrology, we use the horoscope. Okay, so we're looking into time. And so astrology has a lot to do with the study of time and how that affects us as terrestrials on Earth. All right, now getting into the signs. Zodiac derives from the Greek word zodiakos, meaning circle or little circle of animals. And so the signs are actually birthed from a combination of interactions between the four elements, which produce the four seasons, and the modalities in which they operate, or some teachers may call these the three principles. And so we know that for most parts of the world, there are four seasons. For me, I'm in the Northern Hemisphere in North America. We tend to be able to experience four distinct seasons here, definitely in the South where I am. Okay. So each season has a beginning, a middle, and a transition period. And that beginning, middle, and transition is what we call in astrology the modalities. These are modes of operation. Okay, so when you take the four seasons and then you take the three modalities, 4 times 3 is 12. That is how you get the 12 zodiacal signs. Okay. And contrary to popular belief, the signs are not the stars of the show, okay? And to be honest with you guys, when I first started studying astrology, I started with modern astrology, and you definitely get this idea that there is a big emphasis on the signs themselves. And pop culture helps with that too, right? Everybody knows their sun sign. They all know the zodiac signs, but you don't hear people talk about the planets. And the planets are the true stars of the show, okay? Without the planets, the signs would not matter. Okay. So, whereas the signs give us flavor, they spice things up, they are a mode of expression for which the true stars of the show, our planets, are able to express themselves. So, the way I like to look at the signs versus the planets is this. Think of the signs as a wardrobe, or clothes, right? Fashion. Now, the fashion industry is huge. We place a lot of emphasis, we put a lot of attention on the clothes that we wear, our style, and how we like to dress and how we like to appear, right? But what good is any of that if you don't have a body to put the wardrobe or the clothes on? Right? They're only useful and valuable and popular because we use them to cover our bodies. If we did not need clothes, if we didn't care to wear clothes, then fashion would not be fashion. It would not be what we see it is today. And that's sort of how I look at the planets versus the signs. Okay. The signs only matter because the planets exist. Okay. So I hope that makes sense. Like I said, I was going to make it very, very quick. So let's go ahead and jump into talking about Aquarius, you guys. What are the big four for Aquarius? All right. So the gender for Aquarius is yang and masculine. Okay. So if you've been following the videos, you know that we live in a world of polarity, a world of duality. And so you have these two essential natures that appear to be very opposite, but are very similar or the same in nature. Okay. They just differ in degree. So you have yin and you have yang. And the gender for Aquarius is yang. Yang is a masculine energy, masculine as in it is expressive, it is direct, it is external and expansive, as opposed to yin, which is going to be more repressive, maybe more indirect, internal, and more contracting. The element for Aquarius is air. So Aquarius is a part of the air team along with Libra and Gemini. Okay. So the air influence on Aquarius is going to be active because air is active. Air is hot and moist when it comes to the primary and the passive quality. So the primary quality for air would be hot, the passive quality would be moist. Okay. The air element is also fluctuating and it's very dynamic yet adaptable. Okay. So even though it is very expressive and very dominant in that sort of way, it is still very adaptable. And that is because of that moist, that passive quality of moisture that gives it a bit of malleability and flexibility. Air is also going to be very detached. You know, it needs space to be able to move and to spread outward, to radiate outward. Air is also restless and it's endless. You know, air never rests. It's just always existing as air. You know, the wind is always blowing. There are no boundaries to air. All right. The modality for Aquarius is fixed or solid. Okay. So when we're talking about Aquarius season, we are talking about the middle dead of winter, the thick of winter. So when it comes to our fixed signs, we know this is what we use to describe the middle of a season. So this part of the season, the fixed portion of the season, is where the temperatures are going to be most consistent, right? And so this time of year, Aquarius season, is where we're going to have, at least in the northern hemisphere, you're going to have those consistent cold temperatures. And that coldness, you can pretty much count on it every day. You know, it's going to be 30 and below or something like that, right? And Aquarius season comes right after Capricorn season. So this is right after we have had our winter solstice. And then Aquarius ushers in more stability and more reliability when it comes to the temperatures of that time of year. Fixed energy is going to maintain, it is going to conserve, and that's what makes it fixed, right? It becomes there's security in it. It becomes very stable. Like I said, you can count on it being cold consistently by the time you get to Aquarius season. Whereas with the cardinal energy, you're still going to be feeling a little bit of the fall temperatures, a little bit of that fall weather. And then for Pisces season being the transition out of winter, it's going to have a little bit of spring coming from Aries season, which will come after that. So if we really want to be able to explain or experience or interpret what winter truly feels like for the Northern Hemisphere, Aquarius season would be the best time of year to be able to describe that. Um, Okay, fixed energy has follow through. We've talked about this with other fixed signs, such as not Sagittarius. Oh my gosh, such as Taurus, and Scorpio and Leo. Those are the other fixed signs. And so, one thing that we have, I want to say I probably mentioned in every video. If not, I'm going to say it right now, and that is the stubbornness. Okay, that's where the stubborn energy comes from with those signs. Okay, it is because they are all fixed, so they're stable, they're solid, they have follow through. So when it comes to that fixed energy, you're able to have that. I know I feel like I'm a broken record at this point, but I want to drive home the consistency in it. Okay. um so like if you are like if I was hiring somebody to work for me, I'm definitely way more cardinal and mutable. So I like to start things and I like to change things. But I would need to hire somebody to work for me that will be able to have that follow through and consistency. Because for me, after I've given my ideas and I've started it up, I don't want to have anything to do with it anymore. So you need that fixed energy to then come in and to maintain and to keep things going until it's time for change again. And that's basically how the fixed energy works. Now, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. Okay. And Saturn, we know, possesses the qualities of cold and dry. And I want to say we touched on this when we talked about Capricorn, because Capricorn is also ruled by Saturn. So the cold and dry qualities, again, cold is the primary quality, dry is the passive quality. That makes Aquarius absorbent. That coldness makes it absorbent and receptive. Um, and this is similar to the water element because the water element also shares that primary quality of cold. So there is absorbency and receptivity to cold. But what makes water and air different is the fact that they're passive qualities. Okay. Um, the oh my gosh, what am I trying to say? Yeah, the passive qualities. I just had a brain fart. So for the water, the passive quality is moist. It's cold and moist, okay? But for air, it is cold and dry. And that dry quality is what's going to give resistance. It's going to make Aquarius a little bit more abrasive, and there's going to be some rigidity in there. And we kind of talked about that with some of the fire signs too, because the fire signs tend to be hot and dry. Okay, very martial, that Aries, kind of stuff. But for the air sign, cold and dry. Okay, so absorbent and receptive from the cold qualities for air. And then you have the resistance, you have the abrasiveness, and then the rigidity. Now, that is all from Saturn. So when you think about air, the elemental influence of air, and then the planetary influence of Saturn, you can already sort of gather the expression that then becomes Aquarius, or at least I hope that you're able to in some ways. So on the screen, we have some keywords for Saturn to describe Saturn energy. Saturn is about maturity. It's about limitations and restrictions. We know it has the rings around it. Okay, so limitations and restrictions. It is the father of time. So Saturn has to do with aging. That's where that maturity part comes in at. And so if we're talking about time, that also includes death. It means that there is an ending or a decay that happens at some point. Saturn also represents structures, and that can be physical structures, it could be social structures. So that means that Saturn can also be tied to our government or our leaders or rulers, because that has to do with the structure of our society. Saturn is also the taskmaster, so it teaches us lessons. And when it comes to Saturn, it just doesn't feel good sometimes when we have Saturn transits. But one thing about Saturn is that Saturn requires hard work. And so essentially, once you go through your Saturn transits, or once you have begun to learn from whatever it is that Saturn is teaching you, you can rest assured that the lessons are going to last a lifetime. These are lessons that you're going to be able to recall and fall back on, things that are going to affect and enhance your life in positive ways in the long term. Um, responsibility is also a Saturn word, okay? And that goes back to the lessons. It enhances your response ability, okay? If y'all been watching my channel, you know how I feel about the etymology of words, okay? So not just responsibility when you just think, oh, I do what I'm supposed to do, but really look at the word. It is your response ability. So can you stand under pressure? Are you able to still think things through and figure things out when you are in times of stress? Okay. All of that is our response ability, and Saturn really helps to enhance that for us. Saturn can also be the rules and the laws, again, the structure, limitations, right? How far can you go? It's the discipline, again, that ties into the responsibility. How disciplined are you? Saturn can also represent our fears. We talked about it representing authority. And then, of course, darkness, because Saturn is the furthest planet that we can see with the naked eye from the sun, okay? Which is another reason why it has more of the cold qualities, because it's far from the sun. And so you will notice that the two zodiacal signs that are ruled by Saturn are opposite the signs that are ruled by the luminaries. Okay. So Aquarius, being ruled by Saturn, is opposite Leo, which is ruled by the sun. And then you have Capricorn, which is also ruled by Saturn, is opposite of Cancer, which is ruled by the moon. So there sort of begins to be like this antagonist protagonist sort of dueling between good and bad, and I'll get into that a little bit more. But I want to say, I mentioned it in the Leo video, that I just cannot help it, you guys. When I think of Saturn and the sun, I always just think like God versus the devil. Basically, you have this adversary, and I think of Saturn sometimes as the adversary in the chart. But is it really the adversary? Think about it, because and we actually, I'll save this for the polarity slide. I'll save it for the polarity slide. I was about to get on my soapbox, but I'm gonna wait. We gonna wait.
Hey guys, future Jerica doing some editing here. I wanted to make a distinction that I realized I did not let you guys know in the original recording for this video. The air quality, the air element has the qualities of hot and moist, okay? But the qualities of Saturn are cold and dry. So the hot and moist qualities is what gives the air element affinity with the fire element, because the fire element is hot and dry. The air element is hot and moist. So they both share that primary quality of hot, which is why our fire and air signs support each other. However, Saturn, the qualities for Saturn is cold and dry. So Aquarius is going to have that malleability and flexibility, which comes from the moisture of the air sign wanting to disperse and to move about and have that mobility to change and fluctuate. However, the dryness from Saturn's influence and that fixed modality is what adds to the stubbornness for Aquarius. So I just wanted to be clear about that, as not to cause any confusion for you guys. Sorry about that. But the video will resume now.
Okay, so let's jump into the essence of Aquarius. So now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, when we merge all of the interpretations that we derive from the big four, this is what's going to give us a good idea of what the Aquarius energy and environment looks like. So we are considering the qualities of yang and masculine. So you can rewind if you need to, go back and look at some of those key words. Remember, expansive, expressive, external, right? So we're taking that. We're also considering the keywords that we used for air. And how is air? It wants to disperse. It is going to be detached. It is active and it's dynamic. We also are including the modality, so fixed and solid, and some of those keywords, right? So there's the stability, the maintaining, the stubbornness, right? So we're not really liking change when we're talking about that. And then we're including the planetary influence from Saturn and all of those things and keywords that we just went over with Saturn. So when we merge all of that together, we get the essence of Aquarius, right? So Aquarius is then very intellectual, and that is from our air influence. Okay. It's intellectual, it's very innovative, it is future oriented and progressive. And this is what makes this Saturn rule sign, so Saturn ruling air versus Saturn ruling earth with Capricorn. Capricorn is definitely more past oriented, but Aquarius is more future oriented. Aquarius energy wants to be progressive. It cares about how things are progressing. Is it getting better? Are we constantly bettering ourselves? Are we bettering our environments and things like that? Whereas Capricorn likes tradition. It cares about the past. It wants things to be the same, and it's practical in the sense that because Capricorn is a cardinal sign, but the earth part of it is what makes it want a little bit resistant to change. And earth is, I mean, move a mountain, if you will, right? Like earth is very, very material. It's there, and it's going to take a lot to move earth. Okay. But yeah, Capricorn energy tends to want to stay in tradition because it's been proven what works. And earth likes things to be very practical. It wants it to be very effective, not just an idea, but being able to materialize. Whereas on the Aquarius side, being more forward thinking, that is because of air. Air wants to be able to disperse and bounce from one place to the other. And all the while there, remember that cold quality makes it absorbent. So it wants to absorb its surroundings. It wants to absorb knowledge and all of this information. And because it is ruled by Saturn, it knows the rules, it knows the limitations, but knowing the limitations and then having the knowledge and wisdom of the things that are out in the world, when you combine that together, that's where you get innovation. So with Aquarius energy, Aquarius is able to know the rules so that they can break the rules. They are going to literally eat the meat and spit out the bones. So they will keep what works, and then they are going to make change where there is inequality or where it's not working for everyone or everybody. And so that can give it that rebellious streak that modern astrology likes to say comes from Uranus and will want to make Uranus the ruler. But no, that rebelliousness comes from the air quality and the fact that it is fixed. So that means that Aquarius can be very mentally stubborn. They don't want to change their mind. They like the way that they think, and they are going to stand 10 toes down on how they think, how they process information. But they are sociable and relatable. Now they are the least social, compared to Libra and Gemini, but it's still an air sign. So they do care about humanity. They care about their environment and the progression of humanity, the progression of the environment. Because the symbol for Aquarius is the water bearer, right? So the water bearer is basically like pouring knowledge out onto humanity. And so another keyword for Aquarius tends to be enlightenment, right? And so when we talk about the age of Aquarius, we're talking about the age of enlightenment, having access to wisdom, knowledge, and information. Aquarius definitely prefers like-minded people. Aquarian type people like people that think like them. They like to get along with people that think like them. They're very self-reliant, and that's that Saturn and the even the air being detached. You know, it's Aquarian energy likes to depend upon itself. So it's sort of, you know, it's like I want to help humanity. I don't always want to be with humanity. It's almost a little bit paradoxical, but it's both and, right? So yeah, you know, it can be very much the humanitarian, but it's doing it because it knows it's the right thing to do, not necessarily because it feels some sort of emotional connection with the world. It's no, this is what makes sense. If we want our world to keep operating in a way that is sufficient and beneficial for all of us, this is what we need to do. Okay. um let's see, we did detached, lacks practicality. Okay, and that can be because the idea of something is one thing, making it happen is another thing, right? And so Aquarius energy has a lot of ideas. You know, it's going to have a lot of those innovative ideas. But the question is, can it materialize? Can it bring it down and make it practical and actually make it happen? It's easy to think of a plan, it's easy to come up with all of these ideas, but you're going to need that earth energy to come in and help materialize or manifest the things that you are thinking of or that you're conjuring up in your mind. Okay, dismissive. That, yeah, that's going to be that detachedness. So, you know, they can, again, being mentally stubborn, they can be dismissive of other people's ideas or opinions or thoughts because they pretty much care about their own. So sometimes there can be like this sense of superiority where, you know, Aquarius feels like they are intellectually superior than you, or they feel like they're smarter than you. That is a thing with Aquarius energy. All right. Um, and then unique, creative, and free. Freedom is definitely a thing. It's air. Okay. Aquarius energy wants to be free to do as they please. They want to study what they want to study. They want to believe in what they want to believe in, and they want to have the right to do so. And so that's again breaking the mold, breaking out of Saturn's limitations because it wants to go beyond that. And so that's what's so forward thinking about Aquarius is being able to see beyond what your limitations are so that you can see how you can grow and how you can progress. All right, so planets that are visiting Aquarius's domain are then going to be more progressive, a little bit eccentric and unique, very innovative, independent, and detached. All right, so if you have the sun or ascendant or the moon in Aquarius, think about some of the things that we've said thus far and let me know in the comments if you can relate. How do you feel about Aquarius energy? All right, so getting into the polarity for Aquarius. All right, now polarities are just two sides of the same coin. As I mentioned earlier in the video, this is another one of the universal laws, seven hermetic principles, whichever label you want to give it. This is one of them. Okay, and so when it comes to polarity, things that appear to be opposite or contradictory in nature are really just two extreme expressions of the same thing. So they are actually identical in nature, but they differ in degree. So if we consider temperature, you have hot on one end of the spectrum, you have cold on the other end of the spectrum, and then you have all of the degrees in between that. And it's very hard to determine at what point does cold water, for example, become hot water, or does hot water cool down enough to become cold water. You really can tell them best when they are in their extreme places. You know, what's warm or lukewarm to one person may feel cold, or maybe very warm or hot to the next person, right? So it's the more far apart the degrees, the more extreme the expression. And so we're definitely able to determine when water is cold, and we can definitely determine when water is hot. But all of that in between, all the lukewarm, hard to tell, right? So that's what we are considering, or that's what we can look at to better understand what I'm saying when I say that they are identical in nature, but they differ in degree. So the polarity sign for Aquarius is Leo. Leo is the polarity sign. And so what makes them identical in nature is the fact that they are both fixed or solid signs, and they are both yang or masculine in their gender. So their gender and their modality are the same, but their element and their planetary ruler are different. So Aquarius and Leo. Let's go back to what I said earlier about the protagonist, the antagonist, and the whole, God, the adversary, and that sort of ideal. Essentially, I think that both Aquarius and Leo like the same things. As like the same things. They kind of express themselves similarly when it comes to individuality. I think that both Aquarius and Leo have a sense of wanting to be an individual in an eccentric sort of way for Aquarius. And then for Leo, it definitely wants to stand out amongst everyone else. It's ruled by the sun, and the sun is all about authenticity. It is a light that illuminates everything else. And it's very me, myself, and I when it comes to the sun. Aquarius is more we, us, and they. It's about other people outside of itself. And so I like to think of, when I think of, if you guys have seen what the Marvel movies, if you've seen Black Panther, or the Wakanda Forever, but definitely the first Black Panther movie. You have some people that felt like Killmonger was definitely the devil, the adversary, right? And that T'Challa was the good guy, right? So we're going to look at T'Challa as the sun and representing Leo, and we will look at Killmonger as Saturn and representing Aquarius. Now, if you saw Wakanda Forever, you know that when what's her name, the little sister becomes the Black Panther, and she takes the herb and goes to the spirit world, right? She runs into Killmonger. And I probably should put spoilers in, for people who haven't seen it. So, spoiler if you haven't seen the movie. Okay. But when she goes into the spirit world, she sees Killmonger, right? And Killmonger basically is saying, you saw me because you needed to see me, because you wanted to see me. And that's the thing about Aquarius and, excuse me, Saturn energy. Saturn is going to show you who you really are. It's not going to sit there and allow you to pretend to be something that you're not. And that's one thing about Killmonger that I can definitely respect, is what's right is right, and he felt some type of way because he felt like his Wakanda lineage had turned its back on his father, when that whole situation happened with them. And so there is some truth to that. And I noticed that when you look at a lot of villains in these stories, these hero's journey type of stories, there definitely tends to be some valid points to most villains. Okay. There is something that is right, because essentially wanting to keep things in house for the Wakanda kingdom, I think would have been the right thing to do, but a lot of times everybody wants to integrate everything and make everything available to everybody. And everybody may not handle that, and I think, as the queen of Wakanda had mentioned, I don't remember if it was in the first one or the second one. I want to say it was in the second one, in Wakanda Forever. She mentioned, like, vibranium in the wrong hands is not good for humanity at all. So it's sometimes having those restrictions and those limitations from Saturn can be a good thing. It can be a saving grace. But of course, the United States in the movie, of course, just wants access to everything. And the Queen has a way of calling their bluff on that. So if you haven't seen the movie, yeah, that's a good part. But anyway, guys, I say that to say that, the sun isn't always necessarily wholly good, and Saturn, or the devil part, the adversary, is not wholly bad. Okay, and that's the thing about polarity. And if you're familiar with the yin yang sign, you know that the yin has a little bit of yang and the yang has a little bit of yin. And so there is some good in the adversary, okay, and there is some bad in the protagonist, so it's about balance. Okay, they both have something to bring to the table. And so the fire from Leo, offers a freedom of expression to Aquarius that comes from the heart, that comes from the soul, and there's some integrity behind that. Whereas Aquarius offers these ideas and ways of thinking that can go beyond the self. Are you being the hero because you really care about the people, or are you being the hero as a means to uplift yourself? That's the question, right? So you need both, right? You need Aquarius and you need Leo energy. They both can learn something from each other, which I hope that is something that you have learned from all of the signs that we've done thus far, especially in regards to their polarity, is that each has something to offer the next. All right, so let's get into where you may have Aquarius energy in your chart, okay? And so I have an Aquarius rising chart up here for you. I do apologize that the glyphs are backwards. Y'all should know by now that I be having to flip it, twist it, and reverse it to get it to show up, okay, with the particular graphic that I was using, okay? Sorry about that, but you get the point. Okay, it's a I was about to say Virgo and Leo. It is an Aquarius rising chart. Okay, so I will be going through these based on your ascendant, okay, or your rising sign. All right, so kicking it off with Aries. If you are an Aries rising, then you have Aquarius energy on your 11th house of friends, groups, like-minded people, social interactions, and networking. So for Aquarius rising people, you not Aquarius rising, I'm sorry, for Aries rising people, you may get along well with Aquarius. And that makes sense because your elements have affinity with each other, okay? Fire and air support each other and they are a match. They get along, it works well. All right. So you may also find that you think in like-minded ways, like an Aquarius type of person when it comes to your friends and the people that you like to network or hang out with. For Taurus rising, you have Aquarius energy on the 10th house of the career, the public self, reputation, and responsibility. So, what you have in common here is that you are both fixed signs, okay? So, for the Taurus rising, not only do you embody that fixed energy, but when you go out into the world, the way that you show up for the world is going to be in a very fixed way too. So, you might seem a little bit stubborn in the workplace, but you also are going to come off very giving and you're going to come off very social and humanitarian. You care about others and people outside of the self, which already sounds like a very Taurus thing, right? But having Aquarius on the 10th and how you show up in the world is what contributes to that. For Gemini rising, you have Aquarius energy on your 9th house of spirituality, long distance traveling, philosophy, and higher learning. So for the Gemini rising, perfect. When it comes to higher learning, you have another air sign here. So again, you want to explore things. You could be a little bit in stubborn thinking about, a spirituality or religion or, your thoughts about a philosophy and however you experience your higher learning. You may be a little stubborn with it, but nonetheless, you are going to want to get out there and explore and learn. And you may be very eccentric or eclectic in this area. For the Cancer rising, you're going to have Aquarius energy on the 8th house. This is other people's stuff, shared resources, the inner mind. So you might find that you are very humanitarian like when it comes to other people's stuff, but you may still have an eccentric approach to it. Maybe you and the people that you share resources with have an Aquarian sort of way in which you share those resources, okay? Because this is fixed energy. So on your 2nd house, that means that you have Leo there, right? So when it comes to money, sharing resources, how you make money and how you give money, it's going to have that fire and air quality to it. You may have a lot of ideas and be very innovative with how you handle resources. Leo rising, you have Aquarius energy on the 7th house of relationships, one-on-one interactions or partnerships and commitments. So for the Leo rising, this is your opposite sign. This is the polarity sign. So whereas you are very Leo, you may need to be in relationship with people who are opposite of that, who have that Aquarius energy, who think about the others, who's able to balance you out because they are a bit opposite to you. So if you are doing business with people and relationships with people when it comes to dating, having that Aquarius energy, it may be something that you are attracted to or something that you should definitely look towards. Virgo rising, you have Aquarius energy on the 6th house. This is your daily routine, your area of work, your health, your altruism, and it can even be considered your place of where you have your sense of duty. So for Virgo rising, you're already very humanitarian in your own way. So having Aquarius on the 6th house, you're already looking out for other people. You want to find innovative and creative ways to get the job done. Again, earth signs like practicality. So being Virgo, having Aquarius on this house, you want to have all of the ideas and you want to have the space to explore different ideas to make your workspace more practical for you. Libra rising, you're going to have Aquarius energy on the 5th house. This is a house of creativity, self-expression, children, risky stuff, and sex and fun and all of that. So having Aquarius on this house, you may have very eclectic ways in which you like to express yourself and express your energy and ways of being creative. Maybe you have a very Aquarius type approach to parenting, or if you have children, how you parent your children, or you may have a very light and fun way in which you approach your creativity or the things that you create. So if you're not creating children, then maybe you're creating books, or maybe you're creating toys or things for children or video games or something like that. Anything that's going to be integrative and expansive and progressive. Scorpio risings, you have Aquarius energy on your 4th house of family, home, the private self, and your upbringing. So Scorpio risings, when you get in the privacy of your own home, you may be very Aquarian-like. So being that by nature, being a Scorpio rising, you're already very deep, very in tune emotionally, that sometimes you don't want to carry those emotions. Sometimes you'd rather just be detached, sometimes you'd rather be able to care for others and be able to connect with others. That's the humanitarian part of Aquarius, but not be so emotionally involved. And a lot of people may not know that about you because it's more of the private part of the chart. Or maybe you had a very Aquarian type upbringing. Maybe you moved a lot. Maybe your parents had odd jobs, or there wasn't much stability in the home or something like that. Sagittarius rising, you have Aquarius energy on the 3rd house. This is the house of information, the local environment, your siblings. So maybe you have siblings that have a lot of Aquarian energy, or maybe when it comes to your local environment, your daily rituals, you may like to have that flexibility and eccentric, unique differentness to your immediate environment or your local environment. Maybe the way that you take in and you process information, you need that freedom. Again, this is Sagittarius energy, right? So by nature, you are fire, and then you have an air sign on the house that helps you to receive and to disperse information. And you want to have the flexibility of an air sign to be able to do that, but you just may be a little bit stubborn in how you receive that information and how you give it out. You could be a little bit one track minded with that. Capricorn rising, you have Aquarius energy on your second house of resources, your earnings, your spending habits, and things that you find of value. So for Capricorn rising, you may find that you are very open as far as how you deal with your finances, and the things that you find value could be very eccentric. It could be out there, very different, very unique. But once you've made up your mind and what that's going to look like, you could be very stubborn in that. Okay. So because again, that's the fixed part, okay, of Aquarius. And so that's earth and air going on right there. And then you've got cardinal and fixed. So you might be a little bit stubborn on that resource axis, okay, with Aquarius and Leo energy. Aquarius rising, this is your sign. So you're going to feel this in the first house. This pretty much whole video has been about you. You should have been able to resonate with some things that were said in this video today, because it's reflected in your personality, your behavior, your vitality, and health. And then last, we have Pisces rising. You're going to have Aquarius energy on the 12th house. This is the shadow self, the place of undoing, the unconscious, and the privacy of the psyche. This is the place of solitude in the chart. So for Pisces rising, you may feel a little disconnected from Aquarius energy, and you may have to get into a place of solitude, hermit mode, meditation, to really tap into Aquarius energy, because Aquarius energy is sitting in a blind spot for you. But once you do, being that you're already spiritually inclined, that Aquarius energy, bringing on enlightenment, right, can really broaden the horizons in some way, but still offer you a little bit of structure because of the fixed energy in it. So that's it, you guys. Those are all of the different areas where you would see Aquarius energy in your chart. If you do not have a copy of your birth chart, your birth chart, definitely check down in the description below. I have a link down there where you will be able to pull up and generate your own birth chart. Again, my name is Jerica Brichet. I am a spiritual maven, astrologer, certified Usui Reiki master, and a certified integrative healing arts practitioner. Woo, credentials, okay? And I want you guys to get to know yourself energetically, okay? So right now, at least at the time that I am posting the video, I am offering a 30 to 45 minute personality analysis using your birth chart. So definitely check down in the description box if you would like to book a reading with me. All the information is there. Please follow me on my social medias. I have my Instagram handle right there on the screen. It is at msjerib. And that's it, you guys. We only got 2 signs left. So coming up next will be Virgo, and then last will be Pisces, and then we will be done with our Zodiac mini series. Oh, tears. This has been so fun. But that's it, you guys. I'm trying not to make the video too long. We're creeping up on an hour already, right? Y'all been with me an hour already, almost. Okay. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to like, share the video, subscribe, and leave me a comment. Y'all haven't started chatting with me yet, so leave some comments. Talk to me, say something. And I will see you guys in the next video.